Hey, hello everyone. Good morning. Can you confirm audible or not? Can you hear me? So, where we stopped in the last session? The last session we discussed about how to create one server and how to connect with that server by sending a request. How the server is going to respond or not? How the server is going to respond. So, yesterday's example, if you see, I created one application. In this application, just I get one of the library called as or module called as HTTP. This HTTP module by default available in the node. No need to install HTTP module library. If you observe here, there has CORS library is there, MongoDB library is there, NodeMon. Okay, these many four libraries are there. My HTTP is not there. Still, it is working means the HTTP module, OS module, FS module, path module, these all are by default available in the node so that no need to install again. Once you get that module, you can create a server, okay, and your server has to run in your local machine with some port number. That port number is like a 2020. Whenever you know that Node.js is like an event-driven based approach. So whenever you trigger an event is nothing but just send a request. That is an event. So that, okay, my event handler, if you observe here, this callback function is going to call. Okay, this is only the syntax in the entire Node.js we are going to use. You are going to call one function or whatever it may be. We are passing like one callback function. That callback function called based on some event triggering. So once you send a request to localhost 2020, then that time my server listens your request and give some confirmation back to you. Give some confirmation back to you. This one we discussed how to create one simple server and run with some port number. And one more thing also we discussed about, okay, dependencies, dev dependencies and peer dependencies difference also. Dependencies means we are going to use it in the development mode in the production also. Dev dependencies means you are going to use only in the development mode, not in the production. Peer means the third party library or module who created, that guy has to tell like the dependent, okay, libraries, okay, this is the library, this is the version you have to use if you want to use my third party library. Like this, compatible versions of your module, it's going to represent, it's going to place. So dependencies, dev dependencies, peer dependencies we not use frequently. Only the library or module who created, those people only going to use it. Okay, but dependencies, dev dependencies, most of the times we are going to use. At the same time, we discussed about this one also, right? At the same time, we discussed about this one also. Okay, here any library or module you can take which is like related to JS, this is only the way we are going to place our modules. Over here, there are three sections over there: major, minor, and patch. So if you want to update this, we have one module, npm check updates. Okay, if you run the command, okay, ncu hyphen, if you run the command, okay, ncu hyphen u, okay, it means what? ncu hyphen u, okay, it gives like what? ncu hyphen u, it gives me what? Update, come on, update all major, minor, and patch. Major, minor, and patch. ncu hyphen u. Okay, ncu command is not available. Just you can run it. npm install hyphen g npm check updates. Check updates. Okay, now ncu hyphen u. Now see, it is like updating or not. It is like updating. Okay, here all are like updated versions only, so that it's not affected anywhere. Okay, this ncu hyphen u is like update, major, minor, and patch. Whenever you run ncu hyphen u target, okay, is like minor or major, minor or patch, okay, target minor, then that time the minor versions are going to update. ncu npm check updates, okay, update the target is like patch, the target is like patch, then that time only the patch versions are going to update in your application. Once those are updated, okay, you supposed to be do what, you have to run npm install command again. Why? Because the new versions, the module with new version has to download and place in your application. The module's new version has to download and place. Got my point? Okay, so up to here completed from your end. Anyone tried? So far, any questions? Anyone? Anyone have any questions so far? Anyone have any questions? Okay then. Okay, shall we move to the next one? Now our actual discussion, it's like very, very important. Just say. Now let me open our workspace now to paint. Now see where exactly we used like node, where we used like node. I have one client application. I have one database. Okay. Now here my client application has something like this. Okay. Name is there, phone number is there, and the email is there, and the address is there. Finally, I have one button called as a register is the button. Finally, I have one button called as register is the button. Okay. Whenever you click on the register button, I want to store this data within the database. I want to store this data within the database. For that purpose, okay, in the client, you written some code, just think like that. Now, my client application has to communicate with what? Server side application or not? Yes or no? Okay, my client application has to communicate with server side application, but here no server side application, nothing. My client is directly communicate with the database. It's possible or not possible? Is my client communicate with the database? Is my client application can communicate with the database? Is my client application can communicate with the database directly? No, right? So that in between one middleware is required or not? That middleware I can say like what? That middleware I can say like our backend application or server application. I am going to use our node.js. Okay, our node I want to use like a server side application. But the problem here is node, it's like an environment. It is not like a technology to perform some operation. It's an environment, just it's run. Okay, it provides an environment to run the js file outside the browser. So don't say like only node perform the operations like insert, update, delete on the database. Okay, node is like simply one environment. If you want to perform some operations on the node, okay, I want to write some code. For that purpose we are going to use them some third party libraries. Now most frequently used module is like express is the module. By using this module, we can write some code to perform some operations. That code I want to write in the JS, that JS has to run outside the browser. For that purpose, the node is going to help us. So here node is not having any future to communicate with the database to perform some operations. Node is what? Node is an environment. It provides an environment. It provides an environment to run the JS file outside the browser. For that purpose, okay, there has one more person help is required. Okay, for what purpose? to do some operations on the database, insert to update to delete. So which module frequently we are going to use? Express is the module we are going to use it. By using this express module, okay, just I written some code to insert the data. In which language I written? In JavaScript I written. That JavaScript has to run where? This is the browser. No, outside the browser that JavaScript has to run to communicate with the database. Outside the browser, if you want to run the JavaScript, okay, how we can run? By using node only or not. Node is like an environment it provides. It is not having any future to communicate with the database to perform some operations. For that purpose, there has some third-party modules are there. You can use those modules or not. Understood, everyone? Now, this is a browser. I can say client. Client communicate with which application? Client communicate with my node.js, node with express, you can say now, node with the express. Okay, client communicate with my node with express application. Here, okay, we can say terminology wise request. Terminology wise we can say like request. Okay, can anyone tell me, my client send a request, so my server side guy responsibilities are what? My node developer responsibilities are what my node developer do whenever my client asks something? Whenever my client requested something, what my node application is going to do? What kind of okay responsibilities is going to take care? Come on. First, my client send a request so that okay, this guy has to do what? This guy has to what? He receive the request or not? General receive the request, and then what is the second point? In this case, my client has the data. That data has to store it in the database. My client has the data, right? That data you have to pass to whom? My client has to pass to whom? Turn. My client has to pass the data to whom? Finally, this data has to store within the database only. That is our goal. But my client is not able to communicate with my database. So that my client has to communicate with whom? My server-side application or not. So this data you have to pass to my server-side application or not. This four fields data my client has to give to my server-side guy or not. Now tell me how my client can pass the data to the server. How my client can pass the data to the server. See this. This is what? Your communication channel or not. So what is this channel? It's like a request channel. So through request only, my client can pass the data or not. It's like a transport. It's like a one channel, okay, which is used for what? Pass the data from my client to server. Which channel? Request channel or not? Agreed? So my question is, my client can pass the data to the server through request. So how many ways we can pass the data from my client to server as part of request? That is the question. We can pass the data from my client to server through request channel only. But how many ways we can pass the data from my client to server through this channel, through this request channel? How many ways we can pass the data?
Previous.
Okay, there has four ways are there. One is like okay, query params. Another one is like path params. The next one is like request headers. The next one is like request body or not. How many ways we can pass the data? How many ways we can pass the data? There has four ways we can pass the data. Four ways we can pass the data. From where to where?
Client to server.
Where we can pass the data? From my client to server application. Client to server application. Through which channel? The channel is like the request channel only or not? A request channel only or not? Yes or no? Agreed? How many ways we can pass the data? 4 ways we can pass the data through this request channel. Okay, query params, path params, request headers, and request body. Okay, don't think like this is only for Node.js. Not only for Node.js, any technology, okay, you can use it. Client side technology, anything, or server side technology, anything. My client can pass the data to my server through request channel. How many ways? Means 4 ways you can pass. One is like query params, path params, request headers, and request body. We'll see one by one. Now, my client send the request, so my server side guy receive the request. What is the next step? Come on. Data has to take and store in the database or not. So my data is coming through. My data is coming through which channel? Request channel, right? So that he has to take the data from the request or not. Take the data from request, yes or no? That is query parameters means query parameter syntax, path parameters means path parameter syntax, headers means header syntax, body means body syntax. We'll see all these 4 ways. We'll see all these 4 ways. Okay now, the next one is like what? Take the data from the request. What is the next one? Once you take the data from the request, now you have the data. That data you have to place where?
The database.
You have to place the database or not. If you want to place in the database, what we have to do? You have to connect with the database or not. You have to connect with the database or not. So how we can connect with the database? How we can connect with the database? So that you need a database URL. How we can connect? We'll see. Okay, so connect with DB. Once you connect with the DB, what is the next one? What is the next one? Once you connected with the DB, what is the next one? You have to perform some operation, right? Do required operation. What kind of operations we are going to perform? Insert to update to delete, that kind of operations. Once my operation is completed, what is the next one? You have to prepare the response, and the next one is like what? Send the response back to client or not. Back to client. Send the response back to client. Okay, these are the responsibilities my server side guy has to take or not. Prepare and send response back to client. Prepare and send response back to client. My client send a request. My server side guy is nothing but Node with Express. Receive the request and take the data from the request. Take the data from the request and connect with the database and do required operation and prepare and send the response back to client or not. Prepare and send response back to client or not. Okay, these are the responsibilities he has to take. So my question is like, my client send a request, right? If my client want to send a request to the server, what inputs are required for my client? My client want to send a request to the server, what inputs are required to my client?
URL and method.
Yeah, here my client wanted to talk with this guy. Two persons you can say. This person want to talk with this person. Okay, if you want to talk directly, this person where he is now, that address is required or not? Okay, if you know the address, you can travel to him. Okay, and you can talk. So the address is nothing but my server application where it is running, that the address is required. I can say that address is like a URL. Okay, that address you can say like a URL. So I know the address, then the time I can travel and talk with him. Okay, what you are going to talk? What you are going to talk? Hey man, just I want to do some operations on the database. Okay, regarding database operations only or not? Either insert operation or update or delete or retrieving operation. So not only URL, if you know, you can reach up to that person. Okay, you have to talk something more about database operations or not. So one more parameter also required, that the parameter you can say like a request method. That parameter you can say like what? Request method. Understood everyone? So what is that request method? Anyone knows? URL is nothing but where my server application is running, that address. What is the request method? What is the request method? The request method is nothing but it's like decides based on the DB operation. My request methods are decided based on the DB operations. So can anyone tell me what kind of DB operations we are going to perform in general?
Update, delete, insert.
What kind of DB operations we are going to perform in general? Come on. One is like you insert some data within the database or not. Insert the data. One is like what? Insert the data. Okay. Insert the data. Okay, that insert data, it's like, okay, insert a new record. Insert a new record. Okay. One is like insert a new record. Insert new record. Okay, let's take one simple example. Let's take one simple example. So in my team, just I want to add one player today. Okay, just okay, a student you can take simply you can. I have one school today. One new student joined. Okay, previous his details are not in my database. So I am going to insert a new record or not. Insert a new student or not. So whenever you insert a new record, my database operation representation with which request method, post is the request method, new operation. Now the student joined. Okay, now he's staying is like one address. Okay, after few months just he changed, okay, one location to another location, means his address changed. Whenever his address changed, you want me to delete the existing record and you want me to insert again, just you want me to change the address, which one is recommended one? Which one is the recommended one? Just change the address or not? It's nothing but update the data. Okay, update the data. Whenever you do some operations like update, that time the request method you can use like a put, patch. These request methods we can use it to perform which kind of operation? Update operation or not? To perform update operation, put to patch. Okay, the next one. What is the difference between put and patch? Put means patchwork is nothing but what? Small updations, one field or two fields like that. Put means, okay, some more updates. There has student 10 fields data is there, 8 fields data I want to update. Then you can use put. There has 10 fields data is there, one field all I want to update, that is address. Then you can go with the patch. Then you can go with the patch. Understood? Agreed? Any questions, anyone? The next one is like what? Delete. The next one is like delete. Tell me, delete when you can go with. When you can go with the delete. Hmm? When you can go with the delete. The student left my school, then the time I have to remove that particular record or not. Then the time you can go with the delete. What about the next one? What about the next one? Did anyone? Go on. What is the next one? Retrieve. How many students are there? I want to retrieve so that get the data, get the students. Okay, that is nothing but say get request or not. Say get the request. See, most frequently we are going to use like these methods. There are some other methods also there. I had the options to trace to these methods. Okay, we'll discuss at the time of writing the endpoint, but frequently used methods, these are the ones. New record inserted, you can use post. Update the data, you can use like put, most of the times put or patch. Delete, and retrieving. These operations only we are going to perform or not. These operations only we are going to perform. So if my client wanted to send a request to the server, the client requires these two inputs. One is like URL, means where my server is running, that URL. Another one is like what kind of operations you are performing, like okay, insert, update, delete, that request method, related request method has to place. For example, you are like one of the full stack engineer or Marin stack engineer. Then that time you are the person, okay, create this React application form. The next one is like you are the person, okay, Node.js application, and you are the person is like what, MongoDB or not. So think, your team lead given this requirement, you are the Marin stack engineer, is nothing but okay, you are like a full stack, okay, Baron stack engineer, front end to back end, everything you only taken care. So if somebody given, if the team lead given this requirement, okay, how you can start, how we can initiate? If it is only the requirement, how we can initiate? You only the person, okay, front end developing, okay, front end developer, back end developer, and DB also. You are going to take care. If somebody given this requirement, how you can start? First, okay, anything you can start, but recommended. Come on, anyone? Hmm? Anyone?
First Node.js will start.
Yeah, first you want to start like with the Node.js. Okay, that means you have to create, you have to create, okay, you have to write some code to perform some operations on the database. What kind of operation this is? What kind of operation this is? Insert operation or not? Okay, that means you have to write some piece of code to connect with the database to perform insert operation or not. So terminology wise, we can say that is like what? One simple API call or endpoint you have to write it. Okay, one simple endpoint or one API call you have to write to perform some operations on the database. Which kind of operation? Insert operation or not? So first, better to go with if you only the full stack engineer, okay, that means man stack engineer, you want to develop React Node and everything. So first you do the setup MongoDB, okay, or MySQL, whatever it is. First DB setup you can complete. After that, you can write one endpoint in the Node.js, which is communicate with the database and perform some operation like what, insertion or not. Once it is completed, okay, you can test it, okay, by using some tools, some softwares like Postman or Advanced Trust Client. Like this, you can just test that endpoint. If everything is like okay, then you can shift it to client application. In my client application, first what you have to do, you have to design the form and handle the event, button click, and take the data, ready with the data, and whenever you click on the button, that data you have to send it to whom? That data you have to send it to whom? Server or not? Through request channel. So for that you need to communicate with this guy, right? So what you required as a client, what he required to communicate with the server application? One is like URL, another one is like what? Request method is required or not? One is like URL, another one is like what? Request method. URL and the request method is required. Now can anyone tell me who provide this URL and request method? My server side guy. Here you only the server side guy, that's okay. For example, the server side guy is like something, okay, some other person. That time the server side guy is like some other person. That time, tell me, if my server side guy is like some other person, that time he's supposed to give like what? He's supposed to give like a URL and request method also. Okay, request method decided by whom? Request method decided by based on the DB operation. Who perform the DB operations? Who perform the DB operations? The request method decided by the decided by the server side guy only. Okay, why? Can anyone tell me? Request method always depending on the database operation. The DB operations, who performs? Server side guy. If my server side guy perform the DB operation is like insert, request method is post. If my DB operation is like update, put or patch. If my DB operation is like delete, delete only. If my DB operation is like retrieve, get. Yes or no? Come on. Up there, okay. Okay, so my URL and my request method, who has to give to my client? My server side guy only or not? URL means where my server application is running. Who knows where you are? You only know, right? First thing, first where you are, you only know. That address you have to give to the client. Hey man, I am here, you can come and talk with me. And what kind of operation you are performing? Okay, my DB operation, what kind of operation? Come on, what kind of operation? It's like insert operation. What is my request method? I created an endpoint with which request method? Post is the request method or not? Post is the request method. Once you have the URL and request method, my client can communicate with the server side guy. So by using which technique my client can communicate with the server side guy? Whenever you have the URL and request method, by using which technique?
Ajax.
By using one of the technique called as Ajax is the one. Ajax stands for asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Okay, it is a kind of asynchronous action. Why this asynchronous action? Can anyone tell me? With respect to my client, this is like a asynchronous action. Why?
Client
My
did
client
not
send
know
a
how
request.
much time taking.
My client know how much time it will take to complete that request?
No.
Don't know. Is my client know? Okay, he can get always success response?
No.
He may get like a failure also or not. My client don't know, okay, whether it's like a success response he can get it or failure response. My client don't know, okay, whether he is like what, how, okay, my client don't know how much time it will take to complete that one. With respect to me, with respect to you, one action we don't know how much time it will take. one action gives me the success or failure response, I don't know. That kind of actions with respect to that person can say like a asynchronous action or not. One person is there, you don't know about one action, how much time it will take. You don't know about that action gives me success response or failure response. That kind of actions with respect to that person only. We can say like what? Asynchronous action or not. Here, why I'm saying like this sending the request and getting the response is like asynchronous means with respect to client, you don't know how much time it will take to complete the request. With respect to this client only, you don't know how much time it will take. Come on, how much, okay, what kind of response you can get it, success or failure. So with respect to client, this action we can say like what? Asynchronous action or not. This action we can say like a asynchronous action. So he send a request. Through request, he has to pass the data or not. Yes or no? He has to pass the data. So how many ways we can pass the data? You know that. Through request channel, we can pass the data to my server application. That's okay. Through request channel, how many ways we can pass the data? Who pass the data? Client. That means my client can pass the data to the server. How many ways? That is the general question. My client application can pass the data to the server application. How many ways? 4 ways. One is like the query parameters, another one is like path parameters, the next one is like request header, so the next one is like what? Request to body or not. See the overall flow. You are like a man stack engineer. First I set up MongoDB in my mission or outside the mission, wherever it is, my MongoDB has to be run in one server. First thing. Okay, server is nothing but one mission. My MongoDB is supposed to be run in one mission or not. First thing. Yes or no? Okay. After that, you can create, you are like a Maven stack engineer. So already application is there. That's okay. Application is not there. You can create an application and start writing one endpoint. For what purpose? To insert the new data. Whenever it is like insert a new data, the endpoint request method is like a post. You can complete it. Once it is done, I want to test it so that my code, my server application supposed to be run in one server. So I want to test that endpoint, which is like inserting data or not done. Once it is like tested, my server application is running and my DB, my database server also running, my backend server also running with that applications. This server having MongoDB, this server having Node with Express application or not. Both are running in different servers or one server. That's okay. Here different servers, just you can say. Okay, done. My endpoint is ready. Now my client has to communicate with the server application. For that purpose, what inputs my client requires? For that purpose, what inputs my client require? My client require like two inputs. One is my server application where it is running. Another one is like my request method is what? So those two inputs you have to give to client. Here you only the client, you only the server side guy. That's okay. But okay, client side guy some other person. Then the time you have to give that URL and method to the client or not. Whenever you given the URL and request method to the client, my client is supposed to be design this form, handle the event, to take the data, ready with the data. Whenever my data is ready, okay, meanwhile you get the URL and request method. Once you have the URL and request method in the client, now you can communicate with the server application by using one of the technique called as, what is that technique? Ajax or not. So using Ajax, you can send a request. That request received by the server and take the data from the request. 4 ways you pass the data, can pass the data. query parameters, path parameters, request headers and request body, and connect with the database, do required operation, and prepare the response and send that response back to who? Back to my client. Send the response back to whom? Back to my client. That's it. Okay, once you send a response back to client, my client, how it is going to handle the response? By using which technique again? By using Ajax only. Here the Ajax is the person handle sending the request as well as receiving the response also, or sending the request as well as receiving the response also, or agreed all of this flow. Yes or no? So that here what we need to do is you have to do the setup for MongoDB and you have to do your Node.js application setup also, or not. With what? With an Express. Okay, there has other topics over there. One by one we can cover as part of this. What topics we are going to cover? See here. Go to VTS school. Let's go to Node.js. Okay, these are the topics we are going to cover. Introduction to Node.js, understanding Node.js event-driven is nothing but callbacks. Okay, asynchronous programming, work with the built-in Node.js modules like HTTP and Path, OS and FSA. Whenever it is required, that time we are going to use as part of application. Overview and features of Express. Set up Express environment, create a basic Express application, the role of middleware in the Express, so understanding the routes and route parameters, implementing the various HTTP methods, handling query string and dynamic routes, defining the modular routing scalability, built-in middlewares, Express.js and Express like URL encoded. Okay, as part of your application only, you can get it all these things. Third-party middlewares, body parser, and write the custom middleware function, understanding the request and response lifecycle, using Express and static. Okay, save HTML, CSS images, and the JavaScript files. Okay, as part of Node.js only, we are going to add all these things. Templates, I mean, organizing and managing the public assets. Public assets is nothing but one image. Okay, upload the image, just put the image. Somebody has to retrieve that image. Introduction to templating engines. Okay, for example, email templates. I want to pass it that kind of. Okay, using Pug handlebars and EJS with Express. So okay, this is also one kind of template based. Building and test REST endpoints using Express. So database integration. Okay, authentication and authorization, error handling. Okay, debugging. Okay, how to handle. Work with the web sockets using Socket. File uploads. So real-time short application with Socket. Scaling Express application with clustering, deployment and testing. But here, okay, they missed okay, GraphQL they missed okay, I'm going to add that one. GraphQL. Okay, these all things are like as part of our application only, just we are going to include. We are going to include these okay features. Okay, the next one is like here we are going to use like GraphQL application. Okay, how to create the GraphQL endpoints. So far you talk about the REST endpoints by using Express. But nowadays most popular thing is like GraphQL endpoints creating. Okay, so GraphQL endpoints how to create. And the next one is like, okay, we have the microservices architecture in the GraphQL, that is like Apollo Federation architecture. That architecture also we are going to cover. Okay, that is like nowadays very, very important. Most of the people are like asking GraphQL. Understood, everyone? Okay. Okay, let me do it. Let me go to our MongoDB first. Okay, as part of the structure, just we need to create a MongoDB server or not. So can you do one thing? Okay, most of the people knows, but who don't know, can you do set up a MongoDB okay in the cloud? For that purpose, what you need to do, Okay, just can you create one account in the mongodb.com? Can you create one account in the mongodb.com? Okay, let's get started. Let's get started. Okay, here if you don't know, okay, you don't have an account, just you can create. Otherwise simply you can sign up with your Google also, no problem at all. I already having the account, that the reason. Okay, just let me log in it, sign in. Okay, in the sign in page also, either you can go with the Google, either you can go with the GitHub also, so that you can any one of this one, fine, you can choose it. Okay, the next, just click on the next. Okay, now the password you can, okay, just do login. So this is one account you can create in the MongoDB, and one more account can you create in the GitHub for version controlling, to save or commit your code. Okay, we are going to use like a GitHub. Can you create an account in the GitHub, github.com? It's also free account. MongoDB also free account. So these two accounts you can create it. Understood, everyone? These two accounts you can create. Why? Because our MongoDB, okay, our code is going to deploy in the Vercel. That time my Vercel pointing to GitHub repository, so that if we need our code in the GitHub repository, so you can create the GitHub account. I will tell you how to create the repositories and how to commit your code in the GitHub. Okay, so that create an account in the github.com. Okay, these two. The next one is like one of the popular tool to connect with your MongoDB server, that is like MongoDB Compass is the software. Okay, it's like graphical user interface to communicate with your MongoDB servers. So MongoDB Compass is the one. Just you can download this and install it. This is also open source only. A Compass, the GUI for graphical user interface, the okay, rich interface, user interface to communicate with your MongoDB server. Just download and install it. Just download and install it. So from your end, what you need to do is these two accounts, MongoDB account you can create, GitHub account you can create, and MongoDB Compass you can install it. The next one is like already in your mission, I hope you installed Node software. Did you install or not? Did you install or not? If you not install, can you do install? Okay, Node. Okay, now onwards you have to practice Node.js software you have to install. The next one is like Mongo Compass software you can install it. The next one is like create an account in the mongodb.com. The next one is like create an account in the github.com. github.com. Okay, for now, can you do all this in your missions? Got my point? Okay, so who already completed like React? Okay, okay, React, just ready with this form. Just ready with this form. Anyway, okay, here I'm going to create a React application to communicate with your Mongo Node.js. Anyway, we are using like you are like a MERN stack engineer now. So just ready with this application who completed like React. For example, you have an idea on React. By using React, you can complete it. For example, if you have an idea on Angular, just with Angular, you can complete this application. Anything is like fine. Just go with the application. Just create an application. So you have to create the React application, and you have to create the Node application, and you have to create the MongoDB server. MongoDB server. Okay, that is our goal. You have to complete one end-to-end flow. End-to-end flow. Understood? Up to here, okay, everyone? So anyone have any questions? Just work with me next, okay, 1 month or 20 days, 25 days, like that. Any questions, anyone?
Yeah, hi sir. Not related to this one.
Yeah, tell me.
Actually, I don't have any access to videos, sir. Yesterday only I have made payment. So could you please provide the access, sir?
Uh, can you just drop a message like with your email ID and okay, just you can tell them. Okay, they can connect with you. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So any other questions, anyone? Who not enroll, just enroll it first. Okay. Any questions, anyone? Okay then. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining. Continue on the next session.